Cyberbullying among Kenyan teenagers is on the rise, with social media platforms becoming the breeding grounds for online harassment. Kenyan youth are increasingly engaging in political discourse, activism, and even voting. The conflict in Sudan has forced thousands to flee, creating a growing refugee crisis. The opioid epidemic has expanded beyond Western nations, now affecting Africa, Asia, and even Latin America. Greetings from Global Lens Kenyan Newsroom, coming to you live from our studio in Nairobi. My name is Isaac. In the next 25 minutes, we'll uncover the stories that matter most. So thank you for joining us. Stay with us as we dive deep into the headlines and beyond. There is a breaking point. Remember, you can join in the conversation on our social media handles at Isaac on Facebook, Instagram, and X, and with the hashtag #TheBreakingPoint. A recent United Nations report has highlighted a troubling increase in cyberbullying among teenagers, with nearly 1 in 3 young people experiencing online harassment. The issue is not just a statistic, it's a growing concern for families worldwide. According to the report, cyberbullying incidents have risen by 20% over the past 1 year, with social media platforms being the primary venues for harassment. While many believe that cyberbullying is just a part of growing up in the digital age, experts warn that the psychological impact can be severe, leading to anxiety, depression, and even suicidal thoughts.
A shocking new United Nations report has revealed a dramatic rise in cyberbullying among teenagers. According to the findings, nearly 1 in 3 young people have been victims of online harassment, with cases surging extremely high in just the past year. Social media platforms where many young people spend hours every day have become the primary battleground for this troubling trend.
The issue of cyberbullying is actually a major concern, not only in Kenya, but even across the globe.
But cyberbullying isn't just a phase or an unfortunate part of growing up in the digital age. Experts warn that the consequences can be severe, leading to anxiety, depression, and in extreme cases, suicidal thoughts. Parents and educators are increasingly worried about the long-term effects on mental health. In response to the crisis, educators and policymakers are calling for stricter measures to protect teenagers online. Many believe social media platforms should take greater responsibility in monitoring and preventing harmful content.
And actually, if we look back, I think 2 or 3 years ago, there was high level of even suicide associated with online bullying and crimes, because I'm not able to tell who this person is, or maybe I can tell, but there's nothing I can use to verify this person has done this to me.
While governments and tech companies debate solutions, experts say that awareness and education remain key. Parents are urged to have open conversations with their children about online safety and to watch for warning signs of distress. Cyberbullying is a global issue, one that demands immediate attention before more young lives are affected. Nala Wanjiru, reporting for The Breaking Point.
Our very own Nala gives a detailed report on the seriousness of the issue and how it requires immediate attention from parents, educators, and policymakers.
Thank you. From my investigation, one of the main findings is that teenagers are increasingly facing both online and offline harassment, with many cases going unreported due to fear and stigma. We found that schools often lack the proper frameworks to handle these issues, and parents are sometimes unaware of what their children are going through. For instance, a 16-year-old girl from Nairobi told us she had been bullied on social media for months before anyone noticed the emotional toll it had taken on her.
Your report highlights a 20% increase in cyberbullying incidents over the past 1 year. Can you share an example of trends you've observed that might explain this sharp rise?
Yes. One clear trend is the increased access to smartphones and social media platforms among teenagers, often without proper digital literacy. During the pandemic and its aftermath, screen time soared, and with it came more exposure to harmful content and interactions. For example, in Kisumu, a group of students created anonymous Instagram pages to post embarrassing photos and rumors about classmates, a practice that quickly spread to other schools and fueled a spike in online harassment.
The psychological impact of cyberbullying is severe, linking it to anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts. In your reporting, have you encountered any initiatives that show how communities are supporting affected teenagers?
Absolutely. One promising initiative is a program run by a youth-led NGO in Mombasa called Safe Space, which offers counseling services and digital awareness workshops in schools. They also train peer mentors to recognize signs of emotional distress and intervene early. I spoke to a teenager who had suffered months of online abuse but was able to rebuild her confidence after joining one of these support groups, a reminder that with the right support, healing is possible. Back to you in studio, Isaac.
As we continue to discuss the challenges of cyberbullying both globally and in Kenya, we turn our focus on deeper societal issues at play. Joining me in studio to discuss this is Madam Sheila Oshira, who is a clinical psychologist. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Now, what factors do you think are contributing to the alarming rise in cyberbullying among teenagers?
That's a very good question, Mr. Minor. And of course, a very good discussion for the sake of whatever is happening with the country right now. We're seeing so much many teenagers being affected in the issues to do with cyberbullying, because you see with the cyberbullying, of course, this is when you have people using technology to actually intentionally hurt another person. And for that reason, we find that some people have no knowledge in terms of when it comes to what is cyberbullying, and that is very important for us to know, for us as parents to be able to understand and help our teenagers. Sorry, I keep on saying student because I'm a lecturer. And what happens is that now the lack of knowledge, it is one of the factors that is contributing with the issues to do with the cyberbullying. I've seen another thing that we can also mention, the issue to do with the sexting. It is becoming very hard, and I don't know whether the parents are aware about that, because parents tend to have they have given the freedom to the teenagers. Teenagers have been given a lot of freedom, and sometimes they don't understand how to go about those issues of sexting, because that is where we are also finding people getting an opportunity to do that. We're also having, nowadays we have the issue of data protection. People are like, when you go to the online, you find these youth are just acknowledging anyone. They get a friend request, they accept anyone. Whoever sent them a friend request, they just accept them. Now, you don't know the kind of people that you are accepting. And these guys, sometimes people impersonate. And when that happens, then you will find they have a way of now. When you talk about the texting, and of course, sending some of the photos and text messages are sending to them. Now, the moment they decide to expose you, to bring shame, to bring all this to you, then that is what will happen. And you find that that is something that the psychoeducation is very key when it comes to doing that. So again, also too much freedom in terms of using the gadget. We do have issues of the phones, people are using them that, and cyberbullying happening in the cyberspace. So definitely we need to be careful whatever we are doing and whatever we are posting there, because again, if you do not protect your own data, then definitely when it is in the public domain, it will be exposed, and of course it comes in with its own psychological effects.
Yeah. Given the prevalence of cyberbullying, should social media platforms take more responsibility for preventing the harassment?
I would say it is personal. It should be more of personal responsibility, not on the social media. Remember, we are the people who operate. This is a system. The system is operated by me. It is a person like me. And so if I take personal responsibility, then I think it is better that way, because I know what I need to do, what I need to post. Before I post whatever I'm posting, I need to have checked to see, does it really, what side effect, what are the negative impact it has on in case this information gets out of the maybe out of place, what will happen out there. So I think it should start with me first before talking about the social media. It is the responsibility of the person who is I need to know who am I interacting with, who are my clientele, who do I associate with. If I want to invest on the social capital, now who do I have in mind? Who is in my inner circle? Because the social media, yes, it is remember, social media has its own pros and cons. But I think we are the people who decide what I need to put there, and I have to think twice before I post anything. Because today I'll post, because we use it for many ways, or many you can use it for advertisement, you're making business on that. However, sometimes when you use this for reaching out to our friends, it is a very good network. Okay, but again, it can still work against us if we are not careful and if we are not keen on that. So social media, yes, it takes, but I think 80% should be the personal responsibility.
Do you believe the current laws and regulations are sufficient in addressing the issue of cyberbullying, or is there a need for stronger policies?
I would believe, one, if there is policies that are there, they are not being implemented. And if they are, then I think we should not be experiencing what we are finding now today. We need more laws to be, of course, in place. And of course, those laws, they need to be enforced. Reason being, we are finding, even, and mostly by the even before we talk about the policies that have already been put in place. As a parent, what am I doing? Have I given, by the time I'm buying my teenager a phone, what is back in my mind? Have I given them to understand the same phone can find them on the negative side? The same phone, it can lead them. They can find themselves. The same phone they are using would find them in the wrong side. Now, what am I supposed to do? I take responsibility as a parent, and I be able to understand, to help this teenager to understand that how best can we use the same gadget to be able to get to their social networks, and of course to be able to build that. Because again, if we don't do that, then what we are doing to these people, what we are doing to our teenagers, we are actually exposing them out there. So even the policies, they should start from me as a parent, as I give guidance. What is the pros and the cons of the use of the phone? What should be posted? What should you write? What should you send? And before you said what you're supposed to do. So as then we go up and talk about the policy, I think they need to be now more firm. They need to encourage and say, like, kids who are below 18 years, we are having these issues of the teenagers. Below 18 years, when they have a phone, what are the responsibilities in case they were found posting those nude photos? If they were found by any chance, by someone find them maybe doing sex texting, those are things that we need to observe. Do we have things that we can be able to regulate that? If you don't have those kind of things, then of course we are ready to receive whatever is happening out there. And out there, we believe that whenever something go out, something that have been posted, it is snowball. And trust me, it will be over within no minutes. A few minutes, we'll find so many information out there. So I think the policies that are there, they need to be well implemented. The law should be put in enforcement, and of course the parents should take responsibility. And the teenagers themselves, they need to listen, because sometimes I think, and we know, teenagers listen more to their own peers, unlike they listen to their parents. So it is very important for us to keep on emphasizing that it is important for us to know the gadget that you are using. It can either add you in trouble, or you can find it helping you in doing so much of investing in social capital.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Madam Sheila, for your time.
Thank you so very much, and thank you again for bringing this wonderful topic for our youth. Thank you.
You're watching The Breaking Point on Global Lens Kenya. My name is Maina Isaac. Remember, you can join in the conversation on our social media platforms at Maina Isaac on Facebook, Instagram, and X, and with the hashtag The Breaking Point. Kenya, a country with a median age of just 20 years, is witnessing a surge in youth-led initiatives aimed at fostering political accountability and transparency. From grassroots movements to digital activism, young Kenyans are leveraging technology and social media to amplify their voices and hold their leaders accountable. One of the notable examples is the Youth for Change movement, which has been instrumental in organizing peaceful protests and advocating for electoral reforms. The young activists are just not demanding change, they are providing political solutions in some of the country's most pressing issues. Our correspondent Tiffany has more on this.
Kenya, a nation with a youthful population and a median age of just 20, is at the forefront of a new wave of civic engagement. Across the country, young people are rising, not just to demand change, but to shape it. The June 2024 protests, largely led by Gen Z, were a striking example of this shift. Through social media, grassroots organizing, and digital activism, young Kenyans are holding their leaders accountable like never before. But what exactly fueled this movement? And what are these young activists hoping to achieve?
Kenya has a very learned population of the youth, thanks to the Kibaki government.
At the heart of this youth-led revolution is the Youth for Change movement. This group has been instrumental in mobilizing peaceful protests, advocating for electoral reforms, and pushing for greater transparency in the government. Unlike previous generations, Today's youth are using technology to their advantage, leveraging social media platforms like X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and WhatsApp to share real time updates, expose corruption, and demand action from policymakers. Their message: leaders must reflect the will of the people.
We are trying to address is the issue of accountability of the government and the inclusion of the youth in the decision-making table so that they can influence policy. And again, if they're on the table, that means that the government will have to be transparent.
With a rapidly growing digital ecosystem and politically conscious youth, Kenya is entering a new era of accountability. The June 2024 protests proved that Gen Z is not just the future of Kenya, they are the present.
These young people are reshaping the country's political landscape through peaceful demonstrations, policy advocacy, or tech-driven activism. And as they continue to push for change, one thing is clear: this generation will not be silenced. Tiffany Wangoi reporting for The Breaking Point.
Now, as we continue to discuss the Kenyan youth engagement in democracy, we turn our focus on the deeper democratic matters well at play. Joining me in studio to discuss this is the Busia Senator, Okiya Mtata. Welcome, Senator.
Thank you.
How significant is the role of technology and social media in mobilizing Kenya's youth for political accountability and transparency?
Yeah, I had to organize things. Yeah. But revolutions have happened before, very fast. If you look at, I don't know if you've heard of the Zanzibar Revolution by Field Marshal Okello. It happened like moto wa karatasi, so it went very fast. So social media as a tool for mobilization is awesome. It helps. But it also demobilizes. Some people think that when they go and run on social media, they've changed anything. And so it has also been a demobilizing tool to the extent that it can be misunderstood. But I think generally as a tool, it is not what is available to Gen Z. Even today, to get a date, you do it on social media, you have to use these tools. Nowadays, I don't know the magic we used to play to get somebody to meet another person, really write a letter and do things. So, it's there. But the important thing is that the knowledge is also there. The people are knowledgeable, people know what they need to do. People push forward and achieve what is supposed to be achieved.
What specific political solutions are the Youth for Change movement proposing to address Kenya's electoral challenges?
I think they said what they demanded. They demanded good governance. So they were very clear about that. They were not interested in power. They gave only those who are in power to govern according to the law. It was very clear. There is nothing hidden.
How do young activists in Kenya navigate the potential risk of protesting or speaking out against political leadership, especially in a country with a history of political instability?
People should have the courage of their convictions. If you think something is right, have the courage of your convictions. Otherwise, shut up and ship out. It's a war. It's a war. You either choose to be a soldier or you choose to be a victim. So if you choose to be a victim, you'll be taken prisoner. Choose to be a soldier, you'll die in your trenches. You'll stand up and fight. So the choice is very clear. So nobody's going to be, it's a question of getting what you want. If you want good governance, and those who don't want good governance, you have to fight them and defeat them. There are no two ways about it.
Yeah. How can the Kenyan government support and encourage these youth-led initiatives without stifling their activism?
Why would the government and their attacking support it? Why would the government support it? Maybe the question is about has the government responded to what they are demanding? And my answer would be no. But support, I would not see why the government would support the people who are opposing it.
Thank you so much, Senator, for making time.
Okay, thank you for hosting me. And I hope to meet you more often.
Coming after the break, the war in Sudan escalates as the clashes between the military and the paramilitary forces devastate the region. We take a look at the jarring explosions, displaced families, and soldiers in the streets of Khartoum. You don't want to miss. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is a breaking point on Global Lens Kenya. You are with me, Minor Isaac. Now, a growing humanitarian crisis is unfolding as thousands flee in the ongoing conflict in Sudan. The escalating violence between the rival factions has forced families to abandon their homes, seeking safety in overcrowded refugee camps across neighboring countries. The United Nations has warned of worsening conditions with shortages of food, clean water, medical supplies, and pushing refugees to the brink. And organizations are calling for urgent international intervention as the crisis deepens. Our correspondent Feliv is on the ground with more on the dire situation and the voices of those affected. Let's take a look.
Once bustling towns in Sudan now resemble ghostly ruins. Entire neighborhoods have been reduced to rubble, their silence broken only by the occasional roar of gunfire. Armed men patrol the skeletal remains of these towns, their presence adding to the fear and chaos. They enforce control over what's left, while residents desperately flee with whatever they can carry. But for many women, fleeing isn't enough to escape the violence.
But it's a very dire situation from a humanitarian perspective. We're looking at more than 12 million people have been displaced internally, and some have had to seek refuge in neighboring countries, in Chad, in Libya, in Egypt, in Ethiopia, and even to South Sudan.
Reports from humanitarian organizations describe an alarming rise in cases of sexual violence against women and girls. Survivors recount harrowing experiences of being attacked in their homes.
I was kidnapped from my area, and by the end of the day, many men, I lost count of how many, forcibly had sex with me.
The stigma and trauma often prevent victims from seeking help, while the collapse of social structures and medical services leaves them with little support.
So from a security point of view, this concern that possibly then this could open up to terrorist organizations like ISIS, because parts of the countries are not governed.
Aid workers report that many survivors are in urgent need of medical care, psychological assistance, and security. In the shadow of the general's power struggle, it's the people of Sudan who bear the brunt of the destruction. For women and girls, the horrors of war are compounded by violence that leaves scars both visible and unseen. Feliz Sinyambo reporting for The Breaking Point.
While the war in Sudan continues to be convoluted, we delve deeper into the short-term as well as the long-term ripple effects of the country and its inhabitants. To help us in debunking this, joining me in studio is Michael Mulandi, who is the founder of Beyond Justice Kenya. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you so much.
Now, what are the key factors driving the ongoing conflict in Sudan, and how did we get to this point?
The ongoing conflict in Sudan is driven by a few factors. A few of those factors are historical grievances, conflict of resources, and the major factor is the conflict between Sudan armed forces and rapid armed forces.
With a growing number of refugees, how are humanitarian agencies coping, and what immediate interventions are most needed?
The humanitarian agencies are coping by providing funding and seeking cooperation from individual blocs and agencies. They are also trying to incorporate the civil societies and the NGOs so that they can navigate and reach the refugees who are growing in numbers.
What role should regional and international bodies play in finding a long-term solution to this crisis?
The regional and international agencies or organizations, first of all, they should assess the root cause of the problem and the seriousness. Once they have assessed the root cause of the problem, now they can provide solutions or try to come up with a solution which will tackle this problem. And some of these solutions is incorporating mediation between the conflicting groups, such as Sudan Armed Forces and Rapid Armed Forces. Secondly, they can try to create other sources of income by providing several avenues for economic and social integration. Once they have done that, they cure dependence on the economic processes which build these conflicts.
And finally, given the history of instability in Sudan, is there a realistic path of lasting peace, and what would that look like?
There is a realistic path to lasting peace in Sudan. First of all, if you look at Sudan and where they've come from, they were trying to get a civilian government or a democracy in the government, because for over the years they have been ruled by a dictator, in dictatorship and armies. So they are trying to get a civilian government which is democratic. In doing so, once they have brought a democracy, these historical grievances will be cured. And as such, there will be peace in Sudan.
Now, thank you so much, Michael, for being with us.
Thank you, sir.
And finally, we turn our attention to the growing global emergency, the opioid crisis. Once thought to be a predominantly North American issue, opioid addiction, overdose deaths, and illegal trafficking have now reached alarming levels worldwide. From prescription painkillers to synthetic drugs like fentanyl, communities across Europe, Africa, and Asia are now grappling with the devastating effects of opioid abuse. Governments and health organizations are scrambling for solutions as lives are lost daily. For more on this crisis, our reporter Fain takes a deeper look at how this epidemic is unfolding across borders.
The opioid crisis is no longer just a North American problem. It has evolved into a global emergency. From bustling cities to remote villages, communities worldwide are facing the devastating consequences of opioid addiction. In Europe, overdose rates are climbing, while in Africa and Asia, illicit drug networks are fueling a dangerous rise in abuse. But how did we get here? Experts say the crisis has been exacerbated by the easy availability of both prescription painkillers and synthetic opioids like fentanyl, a drug that is up to 50 times stronger than heroin.
Even just sitting here right now, I can feel in the right side of my spine right now, I'm having a really bad spasm. And it feels just like you're taking it, stretching, and it's going to break at any moment.
Governments worldwide are now scrambling to contain the epidemic. In Europe, law enforcement is cracking down on illegal trafficking routes, while health officials push for expanded access to treatment and harm reduction programs. In Africa, where opioid abuse was once rare, health systems are struggling to cope with the sudden rise in addiction.
My administration is working with communities to reduce overdose deaths, including with medication.
We will defeat this opioid epidemic.
With the crisis intensifying, experts are calling for urgent action, stronger international cooperation, better healthcare policies, and more public awareness. But with the opioid epidemic spreading fast, the question remains, are current efforts enough to stop the devastation? Fain Bonyo reporting for The Breaking Point.
Now, to help us in breaking the complexities of this growing opioid crisis, we are joined by Ilyas Mohammed, a renowned medical practitioner at Damal Healthcare. Welcome. Now, what are the primary factors driving the spread of opioid crisis beyond North America, and why now?
Well, number one would be the use of opioid in the healthcare setting, especially when it's used to manage chronic pain in people who have diagnoses of cancer. So other people do take advantage of this, and they start asking over-the-counter, they start buying this medication over-the-counter in an effort to manage their chronic pain, and they become addicted to it. Back in North America, there was a time where there was the OxyContin crisis, or the oxycodone crisis, where it was being marketed as a pain drug, but the big pharmas were not talking about its addiction potential. And this drug became addictive all throughout because of its high ease in pain relief. So that is the first one. The other one is because it is cheaper to produce, because it's a synthetic drug. These are synthetic opioids compared to the natural opioids that are got from plants. So they have cheaper production and they're easier to distribute.
How are different countries responding to this crisis, and what strategies have shown the most success in curbing opioid addiction?
Currently, there have not been as many successful strategies, but rehabilitation centers have started something called the methadone monitoring treatment, whereby once you start taking an opioid medication, example fentanyl, stopping it abruptly is very dangerous to your health acutely. So we do something called tapering off, and this has to be monitored, whereby if you are taking, say, 100 grams of methadone daily, we start by lowering it to 75 daily gradually for 1 week, then 50 the next week, until you're able to go at 0 or no medication throughout that time. So that is one of the strategies. Number two, something called prescription-only being given this medication only under prescription, whereby this is by pharmaceutical companies and health agencies, and as low down as to pharmacy outlets and clinics, requiring you to have a prescription before you're given any opioid medication.
With the rise of synthetic opioids like fentanyl, what new challenges do law enforcement and health agencies face?
Well, health agencies mostly, we face the acute illnesses that come from this, like convulsions, brain damage, and heart and kidney damages. In the acute setting, it can cause heart attack, it can cause bleeding into your brain, and also withdrawals if you're not able to find the money to buy it.
And finally, what role do pharmaceutical companies and healthcare systems play in either exacerbating and solving these crises on a global scale?
Well, big pharma, as people call it, there's a lot of controversial opinions around big pharma and opioid crisis, and that when one drug was made and they saw that the population was addicted to this drug, they tried making another drug to counter the addiction of the other drug, and the second drug became more addictive than the first drug. So that was one, and big pharma will always look into production and numbers and money. Number two, health agencies as well will also look at it from a financial perspective, whereby if my clinic is running and I know I have 10 to 15 patients who are opioid dependent, I know that is a source of revenue. So that is how clinics do contribute, pharmaceutical agents do contribute to this crisis of opioids. Number three is lack of ethics among the clinical practitioners, whereby this drug is basically prescribed without knowing whether it's actually efficient for the amount of pain you want to manage, or you just want to prescribe it because of financial gains.
Thank you so much, Elias.
You're welcome.
Now, that's all for today's episode. Thank you so much for staying with us. Join me next time for another episode as we uncover more stories on affordable housing, brain drain in developing nations, and the role of United Nations in global peacekeeping. My name is Mina Isaac. See you next time.